Okay, so we're going to do some framing today. We're going to go over the steps that I go through from beginning to finished product. Okay, so we've got some lumber here, got some walnuts, got some cherry, I got some maple. Okay, what you want to do is select your lumber. When you're selecting your lumber, you want to look down the length of your boards. Make sure they're nice and straight. Make sure there's not too many knots in your lumber. Nice and clean lumber is what you're looking for. And these are sold by the board foot at your lumber yard. All right, so this is a thickness planer, and it's going to plane down and smooth down our boards that we need to make our frames with. There's just a cheap Mastercraft planer, and yeah, it does the job. So we're going to start. All right, so now that we're finished planing our boards, we want to straighten one edge of the board. So I'm going to use a skill saw. I've got a homemade track here, and yeah, we're going to straighten one side. Now that we're finished planing our boards, we can start cutting them down with our table saw. So I typically cut my boards down to about 1.5 inches, 1.25 inches. So yeah, so we'll get started. Okay, so all the slats are cut. Next step is to plane everything down again and make sure all the pieces are the same dimensions. So we'll hit the planer again. All right, so now that we're finished putting these through the planer, we got to cut a groove into the slats and the frames. So we're going to use a table saw. I've got my feather jig here. And yeah, we're just going to run these frames through a couple of times and cut that slot. All right. So this video is on my mounting process. First thing I'm gonna do is put some cold wax to protect the painting. So I'm gonna use some Bondo spreaders. And a cloth. We're going to spread this evenly throughout the painting. And then with my cloth, I'm going to okay. So we'll let that sit for 24 hours and then we'll come back and all right. Okay. So our wax is dried. We're now going to mount this onto foam board. So I've got a 1/2 inch foam board here. I'm going to use some gel gloss. I'm going to spread it on both sides, on the foam board and on the painting. Alright, so just like the wax, we want to do that. Got my spreaders here. We're just going to spread this out. You want to leave a fairly thick layer of gel gloss on here, but we want to evenly spread this out as well. I want to make sure we have a good coverage here. The corners seem to lift a little bit, so I want to put a little extra on the corners. There we go. Set that aside. We'll do the painting. Okay. Again, get the corners and the edges. So I'm just using light pressure on my paddle to spread this out. All right, so we'll give this an hour to dry, and then we'll come back and put another layer on and bond it to the foam board. Okay, so our gel gloss is dried. We're gonna put another layer of gloss on. Okay, spread it out. Okay, put a decent amount on. Okay, and mount this painting. And then we're going to roll this flat. Want to push all this adhesive to the edges. I'll make sure all the corners and edges have adhesive on it. Got a little bit lift in there, so we'll just add a little bit of glue. All right, so once that's done, grab a board. Put some weights on it and let it sit for a few hours, then we should be done. All right, so I finished cutting this mat board nice and clean. So to get this to cut clean, instead of having your knife do this to your mat board, I'll show you how to do that. Got this piece of mat board here. Make sure your knife is new, or break off a piece and have a nice sharp knife. Put a little bit of oil on the blade, so I just use just a cedar oil. You can use any kind of essential oil or baby oil. So okay, it's got nice clean edges. Good. Okay, so last step of mounting our artwork. Sometimes when you mount your artwork on the foam board, we'll get quite a bit of a warp on the board, like that. This one that we did actually came out pretty straight, so don't have to fix that. But if you do, what you're gonna have to do is grab a wet towel, and we're going to just put some water on the back side of this mat board. Just let it sit and dry, and then it should straighten itself out. So we'll let that dry in a bit, and we'll See what happens. So we got this painting all straightened out. Mat board's a little bit bent, but a lot better than before. All right. Okay. So we're gonna make some frames. The tools that we're gonna need is a miter saw. Got a skill saw to cut the plywood. Have a biscuit joiner with a jig for the corners. I've got my ruler. Got some CA glue, crazy glue, and some wood glue. Gonna need a square as well. So yeah, we're gonna make some frames. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do is take a measurement of our painting. I've got 21.5 inches. What the measurement we want to go with is going to be an inch longer. So we'll measure 22.5. I need a pencil. Go. All right, so 22.5 is our length. Inches length. And 14.25 plus an inch is 15.25 inches. So we'll measure that twice. 14.25 plus 1 is 15.25. 21.5 plus an inch is 22.5. Okay. So this is our layout. 22.5 by 15.25. And frame, and that's going to be for the inside dimensions of the frame. Grab a couple pieces here. All right. So this is the outside. This is the front. This is the bottom. And the way we want to cut this is put the bottom facing down. We'll cut our 45. Measurement. So we're doing 22.5 for our inside measurement. It's 22.5. Two and a half, that's our inside, and then our outside should be facing this way. Outside cut will look like that. Just flip this all over to 45. We'll do a second measurement to make sure we're good. 22.5. Okay. Grab our painting. Just make sure we're good. Yep. Cut an identical piece. So okay, got 2 pieces, and then we're gonna do the other lengths. Make sure we're good there. So we need 15.25. For inside. Just double check our length. Looks good. All right. Okay, so we are going to glue this together. I'm going to use some CA glue. Put some on there. There. Make sure it's square with using your square. Okay. So everything is lined up and square. And I use our accelerant. I'll just spray that in the joints. Okay. Then let's do the other corner. This came off. Okay, doing the other corner. Let's go there. Okay, looks good. Okay. Put a good amount of glue on there. We'll line it up. Just be careful when you're working with CA glue. Just don't get any on your fingers. Yeah, it's just like crazy glue. It'll bond your skin. So Make sure everything is square. So we'll do one corner at a time. We'll start with this corner. Just wait a minute for that to set. Then we'll do the other corner. Another way of doing joints is to use some tape. I will, all right, let's do the other corner. Just be careful you don't be too aggressive with pulling this apart. Just be gentle. Get this corner here. Just make sure we have good coverage. So we'll have some tape. Okay, so that should be good. Okay, now we're going to cut a piece of plywood to fit into the back side of the frame. So I've measured it out. I'm going to use my little scale saw. All right, that fits perfectly in the back. Okay, so I've got some gel stain here. We'll just put there we go. Okay, so the stain has dried, so we're gonna glue this to the frame like that. Grab some glue. Oh. Okay, I got my CA glue, wood glue. I'll put some CA glue on the corners here. And then we'll use wood glue for the rest of the sides. Just flip it over. Make sure that's the right fit. Okay. All right. So. And just with damp cloth, we're just clean up the excess wood glue. That should fit right there. Okay, so the next step. Okay, last couple of steps. We're going to use a biscuit joiner to do the corners. So I've got some Purple Heart wafers here. So what we do, put that into the corner. We're gonna add a biscuit in there. Just make sure that's all the way in. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna let that dry for an hour, and then we'll finish it up. Okay, so let's cut these out. Got a little pole saw here. Okay, so a couple of imperfections we can fix. Stuff like that. Let's see. Spaces like that. Okay, so we can make a wood filler with some sawdust and glue. We'll just fill those little spaces up. All right. So we'll let that dry and then we'll sand it down. And then final step would be just doing some stain. All right. Okay. Okay, so the frame's ready to be sanded. We'll just sand it down with a orbital sander. All right. So we're all finished sanding. Got a nice, smooth, clean frame. I'm gonna oil it with some teak oil. Put some gloves on. So you can use any kind of stain. I like teak oil because it's natural. Keeps the wood its natural color. Do the back as well. Just make sure we got everything. Getting into the corners. Might need a little brush. Yeah, so let's use a little brush. Okay. There we go. All right, recording. Okay, so last step of framing. Our frame's all done. Got our artwork here. What we need to do is get some spacers. So I've got foam blocks and a deck of cards. Put that in there. Just make sure we have roughly the same amount of cards for our spacers. So, looks good. Just make some small adjustments. Make sure we're even. Okay. So, I've got some number 8 5/8 inch screws. Just and drill through the back. everything's attached. Clear this table. So depending on how thick your foam board is, as well as our plywood, some plywood here. So whatever materials you're using, so I've got 1/2-inch foam board and 1/4-inch plywood. I'm gonna choose what length screw I want to use. Make sure you're using a pan head screw so it doesn't go any further than it needs to. Okay, and you want it to be thick enough to get into your foam board so it actually has a good grip on it. So for larger pieces, probably use a couple extra screws. We're good. Last part. Cover up the back. Got some double-sided tape. We'll start with one side. Got some craft paper. I'll take one side at a time. Remove the backing for your double-sided tape. Okay, and that's it.